Hey guys, this is Ben from the Media and Design Center, and today we're going to be going over a couple of quick tips for creating beautiful and effective presentation slides. Just one quick note before we get started. Although we'll be talking a lot in this video about PowerPoint and Keynote presentations, just keep in mind that the tips we'll be going over can really be applied to any kind of presentation. Starting things off, our first tip is to keep it simple. While giving a presentation, it's important to remember that ultimately you want your audience to pay more attention to you and the message you're trying to convey and less attention to your slides. One of the best ways to make sure this happens is to keep your slides simple. I know from experience that it can be really tempting to design your presentation using one of these pre-made templates or themes, but this is something to be careful about. Oftentimes, these pre-made templates can feel generic and a little uninteresting, likely because your audience has seen something similar before. Meanwhile, templates like this one contain a lot of extra visual noise, which might wind up distracting your audience. To be fair, some of the pre-made templates actually look pretty decent, especially in the newer versions of PowerPoint. All the same, we encourage that you start from scratch and make something entirely of your own, instead of trying to adapt your content to somebody else's theme. Tip number 2 is don't read from your slides. Reading from slides might seem convenient, but really it just makes it harder for the audience to pay attention. The human brain isn't great at processing audio and text at the same time. Just think about what's happening right now. You're trying to listen to me, but you're distracted because you're also trying to read all this text, which is super disorienting, right? Text can definitely be an important part of your slides, as it can help your audience remember your most important points. That said, you want to make sure that you use as few words as possible. We recommend that you use a simple, easy to read, and large font. You want it to be big enough so that the people at the back of your audience can still read it. Another important tip to keep in mind is to put only one point on each slide. Although a slide like this one might seem simple enough, really it's a little problematic, because while you're still talking about your first point, your sales being up, your audience is more than likely reading ahead and therefore losing what it is you're actually talking about. An effective way around this issue is to give each point its own slide. As you can see here, I took the first point from the previous slide and gave it a slide of its own, which makes it much easier for the audience to pay attention to what I'm talking about at that specific moment. Tip number 3 is to use clear and captivating photos. Photos can be a powerful asset in any presentation. Using the right photo at the right time can spark your audience's interest and engage them on an emotional level. Maybe, at a certain point in your presentation, you're trying to talk about something happy or lighthearted. Or maybe you're talking about something scary or intimidating. Whatever the case may be, one beautiful, high-resolution photo stretched edge to edge can make a compelling slide all of its own. Keep in mind that it's important to choose your photos carefully. Try to stay away from generic stock photos and use ones that will really add the most impact and meaning. Before adding a photo to your presentation, check for watermarks and make sure you have permission to use it. If you're unsure of where to look, visit our website where we have links to great sources for free images. As you search, make sure you're choosing images that are large enough. Although an image like this one might look okay now, if you try to expand it, it becomes pixelated and blurry. My last note about images is to consider the rule of thirds as you select them. An image will naturally appear more dynamic and compelling if its focal point aligns with one of the circles on this diagram. For example, consider this photo of a hot air balloon. Although it might look okay now, if we just slide the image slightly to the left, we can align the balloon with the focal point and thereby give the image a greater sense of spaciousness and movement. Plus, it gives us a little extra room to add a few words if we need it. Tip number 4 is to keep your data simple. Good data can be an extremely persuasive element of your presentation. Just be sure to keep it clear and simple enough to where people can understand it. Maybe you're doing a presentation about baseball and you come across this infographic. Although it might be full of interesting and relevant information, the text is far too small and there are far too many images spread over too much space for it to make a good presentation slide. Showing just a single graph like this one is definitely an improvement in some ways, but even still, there's a lot of data here spread over a lot of space, and the text is still far too small. The most flexible option is to create your own graph that captures only the most relevant and informative data for your point. However, when you do this, just be sure to cite the original data source and to display their information accurately and faithfully. Our fifth and final tip is repetition. As you work on your presentation, it's really important to repeat design elements throughout the whole thing. Doing so will make your slide deck look more cohesive and professional. We recommend using a single, readable font throughout your slide deck. Meanwhile, stick to a simple color palette of no more than 3 colors. Lastly, we recommend using similar layouts throughout your slide deck to give it a sense of continuity. If you need help with your presentation or any kind of digital project, come see us at the Media and Design Center in the basement of the undergraduate library, or visit us at our website. Until then, thanks a lot, guys, and we'll see you next time.